This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with Nicole Espinosa, and she's a queen of the short sale. So, there's a lot of ways to make money in this industry, more ways than you can probably count. And the goal of this podcast, as I was just explaining to Nicole, is I don't care how you do it. You use my strategy, use her strategy, use one of the 500 people we've talked to, but figure out how to get financially free so you can walk away from that boss and that job, and you can free up 2,600 hours a year to become the person that you're supposed to be. So today we're going to be talking about how to proliferate in the short sale arena. So how you doing, Nicole?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we're not too far apart, maybe four and a half hours. You're in Dallas, I'm in San Antonio.
Yep.
So I would understand your culture a little bit, your market. But let's start out by explaining who you are and where you came from, so we can kind of get a grasp on the kind of person that we're talking to today, and then we'll go further.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from Florida. And so I moved here about 12 years ago. And my first start into really the real estate industry was in REO, which was foreclosures. So I was working directly with asset managers, evicting homeowners. I mean, literally the complete opposite of what I do now, right? So that was like my first exposure to real estate. I did that for 2 or 3 years, working with the banks, and it was a terrible job because in the same breath where you said getting away from your job and replacing, I got my license, and I was like, I don't want to work for the banks. I don't want to be on their having to worry about their deadlines or anything, but I had all of this knowledge of how they worked and operated. So I knew that there's something I could do with it. And so when I got licensed, the first exposure that I had to a listing, what ended up being a short sale. And what was so interesting about this niche specifically in real estate was that no one really understood it. No one really understood the process. No one really understood, like everybody kept saying it's a waste of time, just let it go. And I've always thought, how to create solutions. Like I was like, no, this person needs help. Like I can figure this out. And so that was kind of how everything evolved with the short sales. I developed my process. The process that we do today. I've been doing this for 11 years now. And just the consistency of sticking with this niche. And we went all in. We developed our process. We started teaching it. And now we're 100% referral. We're in 14 different states across the country.
Okay, so let's start with the very basic. What is a short sale?
Absolutely. So a short sale is where a homeowner is in a financial hardship. So they lost their job, they got a divorce, or, relevant COVID, right? The pandemic, and they can't afford their payments. And because they owe more than the house is worth, if they were to sell the house, they would have to come to closing with money, which they don't have because they're not even making their payments. So in that situation, instead of losing the house to foreclosure, we represent that homeowner and we get their bank to take the loss and take less than what is owed, instead of that homeowner taking a financial loss. So they're essentially getting represented for free because we charge the bank our fee. They're getting represented for free, and they're able to walk away from all of that debt free and clear without having to worry about foreclosure or having to pay it back.
Okay, so you mentioned that the bank will take the hit. They'll sell the property for less than they're owed. Does that cause a tax ramification for your homeowner, or have you figured a way around that?
Yeah, so they're actually covered under, so there's two things. One, the debt is being settled. So we get in writing from the lender that they are agreeing to take the loss and they're not going to pursue them for that deficiency. So the deficiency is the difference between how much we sell it for and how much they actually owe. As far as any, tax implications of them being 1099s, the lender has the right to 1099 them for that deficiency, but they're covered under the Mortgage Debt Relief Act, which means that it's a wash. So if they receive a 1099 as income, they can just file a form and they're covered if they did a short sale.
Okay, good. Very good. Because I know some people worry about that because they don't have the money to pay, and now they're going to get a tax hit if they don't have someone smart looking out for them or tell them how they can avoid it. How long does that process usually take? Is it a long process for short sales, or that's probably my thought was, you have to stick with these things for a while because they're institutions. They have their meeting every third Thursday of the month, or if you're lucky, they have a meeting once a week, so you can at least get in on a weekly
Right.
basis. What's the average time it takes for a short sale?
So every short sale is different, right? So because every homeowner situation is different, just period. So with that said, our average time frame is 2 to 3 months from start to finish on getting the short sale completed. The industry standard is about a year if it gets completed. So it really has a lot to do with the person facilitating the short sale. Because if you don't know what you're submitting, I always say it's like the blind leading the blind. The bank's not going to tell you what they need and you have no idea. So you see a lot of these agents or a lot of these people that are trying to process short sales and they're like, well, the bank hasn't told me what they need. And the bank's like, they haven't sent it to me. And so they're kind of like running around in circles. Because we've been doing this for so long and we do this at such a high volume, we know if it's a Wells Fargo FHA file, this is what they need for the process. And then we know Chase needs this. And that's super important because, submitting everything at once and being proactive instead of being reactive after the fact is the reason why our processing time is so short compared to the standard.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. So how do you make money off of short sales? Because I understand that you're helping the occupant buyer, the person that's, I guess, defaulting on the note, and we're helping them get clear. But tell me about a typical profitable short sale in your arena. You got like a case study of one that you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, so we make money because we charge the bank our fee, right? So we represent the homeowner and that's how we get compensated for representing the homeowner. And the bank will pay us because they're going to pay an agent if they foreclose anyway. So it's to them, they require an agent to be involved in the process. For a real estate investor, the opportunity to make money is, for the house to purchase at a discount, right? So the last short sale I can think of, like just on the top of my head, we had a deal that closed, I believe it was last month. And the investor originally put in an offer with the homeowner at $150,000. Okay. And the homeowner owed a little bit over 200. So in that situation, obviously the numbers didn't make sense, which that's the easiest way to identify if for your listeners, like, hey, is this a deal, right? So if the numbers has little to no equity, that's a short sale, because now the bank can take the loss instead of the homeowner. So in this situation, his original offer was 150. The house was, had about $30,000 to $40,000 worth of work in it. We ended up getting it approved at 140. Because we were able to prove like the foundation, plumbing, all of that. And we work really closely with the investors that are submitting the offers on any repair bids and anything that can help justify a discount. So the ARV in this situation, he ended up purchasing at 140 and the ARV was 210. So in this situation, he only had to put about $20,000 to $30,000 in it, and then he ended up flipping it. And it's really going to depend on the situation, right? So, your strategy is going to be based on the house. Are you going to wholesale it, flip it, hold it, whatever? So however you do your business as an investor, that doesn't change. You're just going to evaluate it based on the house and based on the price that we could get it at.
So you're offering the service to come in and help an investor. Let me see if I have this right. You're offering to help me when I recognize the short sale situation. You're offering to come in and facilitate the short sale so that I can, is that right?
That's correct. It's giving you the opportunity to now purchase this house, and it's a whole other pipeline of business instead of walking away. And ultimately, our goal is to represent that homeowner, right? Like to make sure that we're helping them, representing them to make sure they're taken care of. But we're also in the same breath, trying to help the investor be able to purchase the property at a discount, because at the end of the day, if the house is distressed and it needs work, an investor is going to purchase it anyway. So why not do it to the person that has a relationship with the seller? You guys will have the first right of refusal because you're the one that referred it to us.
Yeah, so I'm getting it now. You're like a third-party vendor that I can use to solve when I recognize a certain situation. And then I was also coming to the conclusion that in today's market, November 2021, it's a hot real estate market. So the only reason a bank would short sell in the world is that the house has some deficits. It's been run down or tore up or has a lot of work to be done, which the banks are completely scared of and they're not going to deal with it all. So I see where you could have a very valuable service. And in fact, my company might run across some deals that we can bring to you ourselves, because we usually don't want to deal with the short sales because of their intricacies. But if you specialize in that, and we're going to clear enough room to get you paid, and I suppose that you're operating off of what, the 6% that the realtors usually get?
Correct. So we charge our percentage to the bank. So,
Yeah.
and that has nothing to do, it's already built in, so it doesn't affect the net for the offer. So that's the best part. All of the
They're paying that 6% out of whatever they receive.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Boy, I bet you the banks love you.
Well, I don't know about that, because we're very, like, we're very tenacious. So, you know, at the same breath, we're good at what we do. We've been doing this for a very long time. So when we submit a package, you know, the negotiators will look at ours first, because they know, like, we have everything that they need. They're not going to go back and forth. But we are relentless. So, you know, they come back and say, hey, we want 200. And we're like, hey, no, like this, there's no way we could sell this for more than 150 or 175. Now, not every house is going to be a deal, right? Like, there's going to be pretty houses that you're going to refer over to us. And in those situations, we do pay the investor for the lead if they decide not to move forward to purchase it. But the ultimate goal, so either way, you're going to get compensated. But the ultimate goal is for you to be able to buy as many of these properties as possible and have that pipeline of business with your existing leads. Like, instead of going out and trying to get, you know, new leads, why don't you utilize the ones that you already have to create as many solutions as possible, so that your cost per lead can go down.
Yeah. You're already paying to find some of these leads, and then you're just letting them go in the trash can.
Yep.
Try to filter them through. So what you're looking for is houses that don't have much equity, that the buyer is behind on payments, and quite possibly the house needs a decent amount of work. And
Yep.
that's probably your best prospects. But we should not try to sort it out. We should just get it over to you, and you try to figure out if there's anything to do with it, right?
Exactly. I mean, once you identify that, then you just let them know, hey, I want to purchase this, but I'm going to refer you to our partner. They'll go over the next steps with you to see if you qualify. And then we just ask that you do that kind of warm handoff, right? Because you've already built rapport. And then once we connect with them, I mean, it's super simple. You go to the website, it's integrated with our system, which we use Infusionsoft. So it tags you as the person that sent it over. And then we get with them, you know, within 10 to 15 minutes, they'll get a response from us, and we'll call and pre-qualify them. And we'll set the expectations. We'll go over answering all their questions, educate them on the best possible, you know, solution for their problem, so that they feel like, okay, I understand what's going on. I know that the short sale is the best thing for me. And then we get them on board. And we don't take anything on that we can't close. So we have a 98% close rate, which is incredible for this niche, because short sales are very complicated. And the reason why is because we vet them. Like, we make sure we do all the negotiations up front. We're pulling titles so we know what we're negotiating. We do all of our due diligence. So there's no surprises.
Wow. It never ceases to amaze me, the amount of niches in the creative real estate business. I mean, I just learned another one today, and I've been in this business 27 years, you know, and then there you are, Nicole, out there in Dallas, forging yet another niche. I don't know that anyone really does what you do.
I know of a couple companies across the country, but not at the volume that we do. We do over 100 a month. You know, I know obviously people will do like maybe one or two here and there, but this is all we do. And I truly believe that's the reason why we are where we're at, is because, and I tell other entrepreneurs, I'm like, you can't be chasing a bunch of things. Like, you want to be the expert in your niche. You've got to do one thing and stay laser focused. And that's what we've done for the last decade.
The hardest thing an entrepreneur will ever do is have one great idea and finish big, because entrepreneurs see opportunity in all these different venues, and then they start chasing them, and then they become ill effective at all of them, and don't finish any of them. So
it's hard. The way our brain works, we love creating. We love, being in that space. And I thrive on being able to create. And that's been a huge struggle the last decade too, because once you feel like you've kind of perfected it, you kind of want to keep going and have new ideas. But it's so important to stay focused and really get back to the basics of when you're growing and you're scaling, of what got you there to begin with.
Yeah. So you're talking to Nicole, you have a possible short sale, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to come up with some money to consummate the short sale. So just FYI, I just finished a book called The Art of Private Lending, and I'm teaching people how to lend their money and make, 12, 14, 16, whatever, 18%. But I also throw my hat in the ring and say that takes a little bit of work. If you're going to make that kind of returns, you're going to go to work. But if you want a passive income, then I'll use all the principles that I talked about in this book to protect both you and I, and you can just loan your money to me and I will pay you 8 or 9 or 10%. It won't be 12 or 14 or 16, but you won't have to quit playing golf. You can keep right on playing golf. So I just put this out. It's at 1000houses.com if you want to check it out, because funding these deals is always a major concern. The more money you have that you can use to fund deals, of course, the bigger you can grow your business. I have a raising private money course called Private Money Changes Everything, where I actually make payments on the first of every month on $26 million worth of private money that I have out in the field right now today. So I know a little bit about how to do that. So if you're interested in that, so that you can take advantage of Nicole's process. And then when someone says yes, and they agree on the short sale number, you have ample funds and even more funds to buy them with. And hopefully you can start a pipeline with Nicole and forge a niche. So do you teach this? What's the purpose of teaching it? So you're out there offering this service. Why do you teach it?
So there's just no education in this space. So when I first got into short sales, kind of like what I said in the beginning, like everyone was like, hey, don't even worry about it. It's too complicated. Even to this day, even though it's way more established, the process, and, people are now familiar, there's nobody out there teaching really how to build rapport with these homeowners, how to process it. I mean, how to really put good information out there. So really passionate in the education space because of that, because I had to learn the hard way. And the purpose of teaching with investors is, I always believe it comes full circle. So I have on YouTube, I do so many free videos just for the simple fact that if you as a real estate investor, you're making better calls, you're giving good information, not information that because a lot of times people speak on things they have no idea and it puts the client in a worse situation. But you're giving good information and you're building rapport, you're going to send better leads, right? You're going to send better quality leads to us. And not only that, you're going to help more people so that they don't get foreclosed on, because I can't tell you how many homeowners that have taken the wrong advice from realtors or real estate investors because they just didn't know any better. And so, that's the reason why we teach it. For people that are wanting to process their own short sales, of course, we teach that as well, because there's plenty of business to go around for everyone. So really just putting all that information out there to help as many people as possible.
So let's talk about that one thing you mentioned, getting rapport with the person that is behind on a mortgage in a house that can't sell for what they owe. How do you go about gaining rapport with these people? Because sometimes those defenses are pretty high from these people. They know they're in a bad spot. They've had a lot of people try to or say they can do something, and then when they find out the numbers, it doesn't work. So they don't even call them back. They just leave them high and dry. And so they've had probably some not good experiences. How do you break through that barrier?
Yeah. So I always say lead with value, right? Educate, don't sell. So a lot of times people have the same approach, and this is just like sales 101, where they like to regurgitate what's important to them instead of listening to the consumer, to the lead, and figure out what's important to that person. So for example, there's a lot of real estate investors that will say things like, hey, I could close in 7 days. I've got cash. Well, for someone that's in pre-foreclosure, that's the worst thing you could say to them, because they don't want to sell and they don't want to move in 7 days. So that will immediately turn someone off if you say that. And a lot of times, if you just listen, they'll tell you exactly what you need to say just in that conversation. They'll tell you things like they lost their job and they, are overwhelmed because the bank is telling them that they can do a loan modification and they don't know what to do. And that's where you can insert the advice. And if you know the different options these homeowners are facing, if you know the objections, it's going to be so easy for you to build rapport. And the thing is that everyone's kind of pitching what they want, right? So you've got bankruptcy attorneys that are pitching bankruptcy and not explaining, the full repercussions of that. And you've got the bank pushing a loan modification. And then you've got an investor saying, hey, sell me your house. But no one's sitting there saying, hey, if you do bankruptcy, this is what could happen. If you do this, this is what could happen. And trying to explain and educate them on really what the best situation is. And the majority of the time with homeowners in this situation in foreclosure, the real only option is to sell. That's it.
Yeah, but they have to come to that conclusion in their own time, in their own space. And you have to educate them up to that point. Is like, we're down to all these options that you say you can't do or don't want to do. The only one left is to sell the house. I know.
Walk them through it. Exactly.
I know the theory because I'm about to finish up a book called How to Stop Texas Property Tax Foreclosure in Less Than 1 Hour. And I'm telling them, like, let me help you keep your house. You want to keep your house, let me. But I know that 9 out of 10 of them won't be able to, but I need to just be there to coach them up through the process for them to come to the conclusion that I really don't have a way out of this. I'm going to have to sell. And then because I'm the only one that took a time to talk to them about keeping their house, maybe they'll consider me first when they come to the conclusion that they need to sell the house. And I've helped people save their houses, and on those ones, some people might think, well, why did you do that if they're just going to save their house? I say, if you can help a person save their house and not lose their home, that's a good thing. And it doesn't happen as often as I wish it did, but it happens, but it's a good day then.
And honestly, you really hit the nail on the head. Like you're saying the same thing. You are sitting here and you're walking them through it so that way in their mind, that option is no longer there. Like it's almost like they have to see it play through so that they can no longer use that as an objection. And now they know, okay, Mitch, I'm ready to sell my house.
Yeah. So, look, you owe $15,000. Let's go through, let's run some other traps, man. You got a lot somewhere that you don't need. Do you have a boat? Is there anything you can liquidate to pay this? And even if you pay it, are you going to be able to keep up from now on? Or you're just going to you're going to lose your boat or your land, and then you're going to be behind again next month. I mean, so let's go through all this process. And I see exactly what you're saying in the short sale thing. That's how you win the rapport, is by actually going there and trying to help them. I mean, literally, really trying to help them.
And we do, we genuinely care. And that translates, right? So when we're talking to these people, we have no agenda. We genuinely, we're very, we're on it. We talk to people we have leads that people have sent over from 6 months ago or a year ago, and we'll come back to that person that referred it and say, hey, we got them on board. And they're like, I forgot about that lead. And I'm like, yeah, because we know, hey, if we're here, and we have our systems in place, and sometimes it might take a little bit to get them on board. We know that if we're a resource to them and we are leading with, value, that they're always going to come back. And sometimes it's that same day that we'll convert it. And then sometimes it'll take a couple of weeks, a couple of months, but we stay on it.
Yeah. So when you said you're doing 100 deals a month, is that what you said?
We process over 100 short sales a month. So right now in our inventory, we have about 110.
So that you're following or that you're working on, is that?
No, that we're actively working on negotiating.
Okay. So you have to be serious to turn out that kind of numbers. I mean, so I'm impressed that you have a real business. You really probably thought about it. You can't be doing this stuff by yourself in a garage. You're actually have a team, and that's really good.
That's correct.
Yeah, right.
I have 11 people on staff. So I have operations manager, Stephanie Parks, and she oversees the negotiators, and she's overseeing the negotiations. I've got Selena, who's our intake specialist, our acquisitions, and she is the one that if you call in or refer something, she's our first line of defense. I have 3 VAs, virtual assistants, that work with the negotiators that will literally just call the banks and say, they'll have a list of all of our Wells Fargo files, and they'll say, hey, did you get our email? Did you get our call? So they're the ones that stay on the phone for so long, just to make sure that they are communicating with the bank so that we can get things moving along. I have a transaction coordinator, and then 2 assistants for the negotiators. So definitely would not be able to do it without our team. They're phenomenal, and everybody has the same passion and vision for really just working together to get the same goal, like getting it closed and helping achieve, the investor to be able to purchase, and then the homeowner to be able to avoid foreclosure.
Yeah, I know it's even that is a little bit more difficult because you hear a lot of heartbreaking stories, I'm sure, that are
Absolutely.
just grueling. All right, so listen up out there, boys and girls. If you're a creative real estate investor and you've been walking past deals that are upside down or otherwise owe more than you can afford to pay, this is your wake-up call. Don't walk past them anymore. Get this file in the hands of Nicole. I want you to go to 1000houses.com/short sale, singular short sale. And over there will be all the contact information you need, and to figure out how to get in contact, have a free consult. I don't know, whatever it is y'all do over there, but I'm going to put you all together and I'm going to drive some business towards Nicole. But I'm also really interested in hearing from those of y'all that use the service and actually make a sale or make an acquisition that you wouldn't have normally made because you didn't even know to look in this direction, and now you do. So write this down in your little book there. There is something to do with properties that owe more than you can afford to pay. And this is it. So 1000houses.com/short sale, and get a hold of Nicole and her team, and we'll see. Anything else we need to discuss maybe before we wrap it up, Nicole? Because this is a niche I haven't been in before. I hope I covered it well, but if I didn't, this is your chance. Like say, well, I left out a few things,
No, I think we definitely covered a lot of points today. And I think that it's just important for your audience just to understand that, our job as real estate professionals is to provide a solution, right? And so don't turn away opportunities on leads. Like the way you need to be thinking as an entrepreneur is, hey, if I have someone that is ready, willing, and able to sell to me, how do I make this happen, right? And so we're another tool in their tool belt to be able to give them another resource. So happy to help, and I appreciate you having me on today.
Okay, well, what is your website, Nicole? You have a website?
Yes, we do. TheSSQueen.com. TheSSQueen.com.
TheSSQueen.com.
Yes, sir.
And SS Queen stands for short sale queen, just so
That is
everybody.
correct.
All right. I appreciate you. I want to thank everybody for stopping in to get you some Nicole Espinosa. I wanted to say Esperanza there for a minute, but I said, no, she's not a flower. She's a worker. Nicole Espinosa, and learn how you might be able to turn that short sale into a profitable transaction for yourself. I'd also like to thank Livecom, LIVECOMM.com, for sponsoring this episode. Livecom sells smartphone numbers for about 2 cents a piece. Anytime someone calls that number from their cell phone, this smartphone number will capture their cell phone number, put it in a text distribution list, and you can text people for 2 cents a text. And I can show you on the video on the homepage how I used Livecom to shorten my days on market to 4 days. I was at 9 days before COVID. I don't know what happened, but it's down to 4 days now in my last 200 transactions. So check out livecom.com and see how it can work for you or any business that you own. It's not just for real estate. Believe me, there is a lot to do with this new technology, and it's simpler than you think. It's cheaper than you think, and it is way more effective than you might even imagine. So check it out, livecom.com, LIVECOMM.com. All right, we're out of here, Nicole. Thank you so much for your time. It was my pleasure to have you on 1000houses.com podcast, and maybe we'll talk again someday.
Absolutely. Thank you.